want to thank you for obviously coming to the webinar. Obviously, my job here is to show you exactly what you can do between now and the end of summer to double your business. I think if you look at real estate right now as a whole, it's probably one of the toughest businesses in terms of markets since we've had since 2010. And a lot of that is because there's a lot of real estate agents out there who, for the last 4 or 5 years, they've never had to get price reductions. They've never had to really negotiate, and never really had to do the kind of volume calling that I think you have to do in real estate. I think, the majority of real estate has always been built on doing open houses, doing ads. And I think right now, when you're looking at what's happening in the market, we're probably going into one of the most skill-based markets. Again, I've been doing this for 25 years. I think since probably 2010. The agents that in the next 6 to 12 months learn how to volume call, they learn how to handle objections, they learn how to lead follow-up, they learn how to call their database. You probably have one of the greatest opportunities that I've seen in the last 25 years to actually succeed in real estate. But I think the challenge for a lot of you out there is you have to identify first, where are you in the process? If you look at real estate as a whole, there's really 6 different levels that every agent has to go through to become a successful agent. So I think on the first part of this webinar, I want to go through the 6 stages of where real estate agents are at. And I want each and one of you to identify which stage are you at, and more importantly, what do you need to do to get to the next level? Because the very first stage that you have in real estate is the stage, I want you to write this down, of volume calling.
Mic recording.
I'm sorry?
Recording.
Okay, thanks. So I want you all to write that down, volume calling. Volume prospecting is where right now, if you're going to be a real estate agent in the next 6 to 12 months, if you want to double, triple your business, it starts with volume calling. It's where you have to decide that for 4 to 5 hours a day to go out and actually make calls. Now, the number one reason that most agents don't do this is because they fear rejection. They feel uncomfortable. They don't know what to say. And the problem is, if you don't know what to say, you obviously don't know what to do. But the challenge is, if you right now are a real estate agent that's struggling and you don't have a lot of business and you don't go out and make a lot of phone calls and get a hold of people, the question is, how do you get your business? I want you to write this down under volume prospecting. The advantages. Number one, it builds resilience and it builds discipline. Number 2 is that volume prospecting, it sharpens your objection and communication skills. And number 3, it establishes the foundation success habits that you need. You have to remember something. If you are a real estate agent that have the skills to write contracts, but you don't actually have a client to write a contract with, you have to understand it starts with you going out every single day as a real estate agent and making phone calls, going out and contacting your database, your past clients, your centers of influence, calling expireds, for sale by owners. And for a lot of you, one of probably the most underused ways of generating business is circle prospecting. Right now I have 31 homes under contract, and out of the 31 under contract, I think right now almost 16 of those properties are directly a result of us just circle prospecting, getting on the phone and spending time going out and looking for people that are looking to sell. Now, the problem is for a lot of you is that if you go make a lot of calls and you don't get instant gratification, what do you think happens? For the majority of you, if you don't learn how to handle the rejection and not getting the instant gratification, is you eventually just stop because you're not seeing the instant results. See, that's the problem with level 1. And that's why 35% of the agents get out of the business without doing that, because they never actually did it long enough to actually learn how to do it. It's interesting that for my one-on-ones that I coach, we did 100 contact a day challenge. And it was interesting, the people that actually participated and did 100 contacts a day got more business, got more leads, took more listings, and did more sales simply for 1 week by just talking. Because you have to think about it. If you talk to 10 people a day, and I'm talking to 100 people a day, that means that every single day I work, I'm actually working 10 days for the one day that you work. And when you scale that over a month and a year, there's not many people that can compete with you in the market. So I want you to write down number 2, which is the level of generating real leads, where you're starting to turn conversations into clients. You see, level 2 is where you've actually got good enough, where you're actually making phone calls, that when you're making phone calls, people are actually responding to you. You see, when you first get in and you start making massive amounts of calls, the first thing you're going to see is that people are just going to hang up on you because you don't know what to say. You sound nervous. You're going back and forth. You're fumbling, mumbling. But when you actually get good enough, you're going to see that people actually will stay on the phone with you. The problem is that people think that people that stay on the phone with them are leads. I want you all to write this down. To have a lead, you need 3 things. Number 1, you need to know the why. You need to know, why does that person want to buy or sell? Number 2, you need to find out when they want to buy or sell. And number 3, you have to find out where they want to go. You have to understand, if you cannot find out those 3 things, in many cases, you don't have a lead. And that's the problem. There's a difference between taking conversations and actually finding people that want to buy and sell real estate. So again, I want you to remember, as you're going through every single conversation for the rest of your real estate career, I want you to remember, the only 3 things you need to get out of any conversation is why, when, and where. Now, the good thing about level 2 in there is that you're starting to actually see that there's results based on your actions. People are starting to talk to you. The challenge is that as you keep having conversations, if you cannot set appointments, a lot of real estate agents, they get frustrated. And that's where they quit. Because you have to realize something. There's a skill level between talking to people and actually finding people that want to buy and sell. So you have to understand, 10% of real estate agents right here quit because they didn't learn the skill of taking a conversation into a prospect. And remember, the way we do that is we have to find out the why, the when, and the where. Now, the third part is the fun part. We're setting high quality appointments, the power of precision. This is where your conversations are actually leading people to go on to either buying appointments and showing appointments with buyers, or you actually are getting out and doing listing appointments. For most agents, this is where a lot of you feel as though you've really turned the corner because you're now going out and meeting with people. The challenge is that if your skills are not good enough and you go out on listing appointments and you fumble and mumble and you don't know how to generate the comps and you don't know how to get someone to price it correctly, or you can't fight people through the commission and the objections they have, then you start to go on lots of appointments and you don't get anything out of it. I think for most agents, this is where most people, they quit. Because think about it, if you fought through the process of making phone calls, you learned how to actually generate leads, which are just people that will talk to you, and now you're going out and meeting people in person and you're not getting the result you want. Most people at that point, they literally quit because they say, you know what? This isn't for me. And the reason I'm going through the first 6 is I want you to understand something. No matter which of the 6 levels you're at, it's not you. It's the level that you're at. And every level has the advantages and disadvantages. The next one that I want you to write down is getting contracts signed, mastering the close. Getting contracts signed, mastering the close. Now, I want you to understand something. There's nothing more frustrating than taking listings that are too high that you know will never sell, taking them at commissions on the buy side that causes people not to buy, or working with buyers and not having the skills and the ability to actually get someone to write a competitive offer. You're going to see right here at this level is where most of the real estate agents that are experienced are at right now. They have listings that they do not know how to sell. They're taking listings, which is really good, but they're not taking listings that actually sell. Because you have to realize something, anybody can take a listing, but in this market, if you don't have it priced right and you don't have the right marketing behind it, the listing doesn't have to sell. If you look on average across North America, the average day on the market has gone up significantly, and you probably have seen more price reductions than you've seen in probably the last 6 or 7 years. And that's the thing. Right now, if you don't have the skills and the ability to do that, there's going to be challenges. So I want you to write down number 5, closing deals. The next step is where you actually get good enough, where you actually start to turn your listings into contracts, which means you're getting offers. You're actually able to go out and take a buyer, and you're actually able to take that buyer and put them under contract. For a lot of agents right now, this is the problem that they're having. But you have to understand something. Even when you get to this point, one of the biggest distractions that you have once you start to actually get properties under contract is you stop doing lead generating. You see, at each one of these processes, you have to understand, if you stop lead generating every single day, at some point your business is going to falter. And this is where you're finding a lot of agents right now struggling as well, because they get 2, 3, 4, 5 properties under contract, and they spend all of their time and energy getting those to closing. That what happens is their business goes up, and then you see their business come down. Because I want you to understand, if you don't make prospecting a daily habit at any one of these points, you get stuck. Because remember something, if you keep taking listings and the listings don't sell, what happens? You still have to go back and find new listings. And the problem is as you keep going, your listings start to accumulate. So I want someone out there to raise their hand, and I want you to tell me exactly which level are you at. Give me a second here. Hello, how are you? Yes, there we go.
Good. Embarrassingly, probably level 2,
Okay, and how long have you been a real estate agent?
20 years.
Okay, and what do you think has stopped you from ever progressing to the next level? You've been stuck with just generating leads and not really moving it forward.
The objections have changed.
Okay,
And it used to be just the Mike Ferry scripts,
I agree with you.
but now the objections are much faster and brutal, and the conversations are really fast. And I'm trying to work through that. It's just, it takes a lot of contacts to get anywhere.
It does. I mean, I think you have to realize you could make a million contacts, but if you don't know how to talk to people, I think, one of the things, I was with Mike Ferry for 15 years. I mean, he's probably one of the biggest influences that I had in my life in terms of just teaching me the habits of prospecting. But the thing is like, when you get to a point when the seller looks at you and he says, "What's your commission?" Will you cut it? And you're like, "No, any other questions?" That doesn't work. People want to be talked to. And you have to realize something, where a lot of agents struggle is they read a script. The problem is, if I just give you a script and say, study it, as soon as I take you off the script, what happens? See, what you want to learn is you want to learn the framework behind the scripts. You have to learn, because the magic is in what happens after the script. What are some of the common people you talk to? Are you doing cold calls? Are you doing for sale boners, expires? Who do you typically call and talk to?
Expired, canceled, just listed, just sold, circle prospecting.
Okay. Which one do you struggle with the most?
In my market, which is the Phoenix market, it's very aggressive, a lot of competition, and it's just hard to get through to somebody who hasn't already had 50 calls by the time you get to them.
Right. Well, I mean, I think, when you're dealing with expires, the first thing you have to realize is the first people that get them typically have the best chance when you're the 50th person. But since we're here, why don't we do a quick role play? You get to be the seller.
Sure.
An expired listing, I'm going to call you and we'll have some fun. So,
Sure.
Hi, this is Mike with RE/MAX. I noticed early this morning on my way to work that your property came off the MLS as an expired listing, and I was curious if you had thought about potentially putting it back on the market or would be open to selling if you could get the right kind of offer. Obviously something that makes sense.
No, Mike, we're done.
Okay, not a problem. Is that simply because you need a little bit more time in your current property, or you're just not sure if right now is the right time to sell?
Look, Mike, I get 50 calls today from people just like you. Do you have a buyer for me?
Well, fortunately for you, I work with a lot of buyers because I have a lot of houses under contract. I'm curious, if you had got an offer, let's say a week ago, at your price or higher, closing at the end of this month, do you think you would have taken it?
Quite possibly.
Okay, well, let me ask you a better question then. If I could get you the same offer closing in roughly the same time frame, I'm assuming that would be an offer you would consider, correct?
Correct.
Right. So do you have time available this afternoon that I can show you exactly what I did to sell 31 homes over the last 2 months? And the best part is that if you're not 110% convinced that I'm the right agent or the right marketing plan, do you have to hire me?
No.
Okay. So you're always in control, correct?
Yes, correct.
Great. Would it be better for me to swing out at 4 o'clock, or I could actually swing out in an hour, which is easier?
I need to talk to my wife first
Of
and
course.
see what it looks like for her.
Sure. Let me ask you something. If your wife is like my wife, and she comes back and says, "Hey, what do you think?" What would you tell her?
I would tell her it wouldn't hurt to try.
Great. So why don't we go ahead and meet today? Because here's the thing. The decision is you and your wife. And I'm curious, does your wife want to move as much as you do?
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. How does it feel when you make decisions that benefit your wife?
Oh, that's good. It feels good. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we were able to get the home sold literally in the next week or two, like we did for the other 31, you'd probably be her hero, wouldn't you?
Right.
Right. I look forward to making that happen. So I want
Well,
y'all to understand something. Learning what to say is one of the most important things. And that's where I think a lot of real estate coaches in general, they can't do it because most people are nothing more than scripts. You take the script away from them and they have nothing left. The thing that I try to teach everyone that I work with is learning the communication of how to actually frame things. You have to realize when you're talking to an expired, the first thing that I did is I split you with this or that. See, one of the worst things that people do is they'll ask one question: where do you want to move? I don't know. When do you want to move? I don't know. Instead of asking someone, where do they want to move? Do you want to move local or are you going to relocate? Instead of asking someone, do you want to meet today? It could be, do you want to meet at weekend or do you want to meet weekdays? Because you have to remember something. If you ask them, what kind of house do you want? I don't know. Are you looking for a bigger house or a smaller house? You have to realize when you learn to control people through questions, that's when everything changes. And I think that's why so many people get stuck at level 2, because you're not used to learning how to ask the right kind of questions. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. When you're talking to a cold call, it would be the exact same thing. Is that because you just need more time or because you're just not sure if now is the right time to sell? Well, we don't think now is the right time to sell. Okay, well, whether you do it in 3 months, 2 months, or sooner, I guess, is timing the most important thing or getting the most amount of money? Well, probably the most amount of money. Okay, well, if moving your time frame up a little bit got you an extra 3, 4, 5%, I'm assuming that'd be something that you would look at or at least consider. See, when you learn to ask questions, that is what takes you from level 2 to level 3. So when you look at your volume of prospecting, what does that look like for you?
There's been days, and it's funny because I saw a video of yours, and I actually have a note on my wall that says 100 contacts a day make problems go away.
That's
And
true.
I try to get at least 40 to 50 contacts a day, but sometimes it's damaging. It's a lot of hours to get that many contacts.
Right. And I want to, by a show of hands here, what's more damaging, the rejections we take or a bank account not having the amount of money we want? I mean, I don't know about you, who prefers the money versus the rejection? Because you can buy a lot of fun things with money. You can't buy a lot of stuff with just rejection. I think that's what you have to understand. It is hard, but I think you have to understand something. If you are willing to do the things that all of the other agents don't, do you realize that you get to have all the things that the other agents don't? Like, there has never been, and I mean, honestly, a better opportunity to take advantage of what's going on. Because one of the things you have to remember, if it is hard for you being in the business 20 years, how do you think it is for a brand new agent that has no idea what to do?
Yeah.
See, for you, you already have the structure. You probably get in front of a buyer or a seller, and you probably can close them very well just because you have the experience. But if you have all the experience in the world, but you don't have anybody to do it, what is the value of the skill? That's why for a lot of you, you need to go back and recommit to getting the volume of calls in, and then more importantly, commit to finding something or someone that actually could show you step by step how to ask better questions. Because I can promise you, with your experience, if you make 50 contacts a day or 35 with the right skills, you would probably quadruple your business. And that's the thing that I want you all to understand. It's just the level that you're at. And the thing is, you stay at that level until you do something about it. And that's the thing. You could read scripts till you're blue in the face. Do scripts till you're blue in the face. Would you be able to do what I just did?
No, that's just experience.
The thing is that, one of the cool things is that, I just moved into this 9,000 square foot office. And my dream has always been to take a prospecting clinic and an action workshop and put it together. So in the next 2 months, I'm going to be opening up my office where people will be able to come in and train with my team for 3 days. It'll be an action workshop. I'll literally show you step by step how to prospect people. And then I'll literally watch you do it. And you watch my team. You're going to see kids that are 23, 24, 25. They've been doing it for less than a year or two, and they sound like they've been doing it for a decade. And the reason that that's so powerful is it shows you it's not some skill that I just have. Anybody that works for me has it, because if you do it every single day for 3 or 4 hours, and you do that 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, and you do that for 6 months, do you have any idea where you would want to be? So thank you so much. I appreciate that. I want one more person to give me something to tell me. Give me one more person. Where are you at? Someone raise their hand. Okay. Let's see here. Hello, hello, how are you? This is where you turn your microphone on. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. How are you?
I'm doing well, coach. How are you?
Good. What level are you at?
I would say I'm similar, not so different than the other guy, in between a 1 and a 2. I have some years of experience, but I haven't been consistent with my um volume calling since I started coaching with you. Until then, that's when I started hitting the books or
What is
the
what is
phones.
not having volume calling done for you?
Lost opportunity cost.
Yeah, you have to realize something. You could be in the business for 100 years, it doesn't really matter. If you don't talk to enough people, you don't get enough opportunities. I think one of the things I want y'all to understand is that the more calls that you all find yourself making, it gives you better opportunities. People always say, role play an hour a day, which for a lot of you, well, they're going to talk about the back half, what to do. But role playing with real people every day is probably the best thing to do. That's how I always looked at it when I was coming up. If I'm going to make 6, 7, 8 hours of calls, that gives me 7, 8 hours to practice. If my competition is making 1 or 2 hours a day and I'm doing 7 or 8 hours on certain days, how much better am I going to be than them over the course of 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, a decade? Even when I was coming up, there was a guy, Gary Fitzgibbons, and he was like the #1 Mike Ferry agent. And I mean, for 5 years, this guy kicked my ass. And I had a little picture of him right up on my wall. But, I would see at the conferences, he was calling 2 hours a day. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, if I do 5 hours a day, he's 15 years in the business. At some point, I was going to catch up. And it took me about 5 years till I was able to significantly be able to compete with the best. So let me ask you, at this stage, what is holding you at #2? Because now you're making more calls. But at the same time, why do you think you don't have the scripting that you should have?
No, I think I was just I think I'm in between because there'll be a couple of days that sucks and I don't connect with as many people, and then I get that little roller coaster effect. Like, you always tell me motivation doesn't matter. You have to keep going because there's gonna be a lot of days that you don't want to do what you want to do. And it's just you have to do it anyway. So discipline beats motivation.
Well, I
You know.
think one of the biggest problems that I think a lot of people have is they make decisions on calling based on how they feel. You see, if I talk to any of you and we did a one-on-one call and you say you want to make 500 grand, I could give 2 shits how you feel when you get up. I can promise you most of the days I don't feel like doing all the things that I have to, but I have goals. And you have to realize it doesn't matter how you feel. I want you to write this down. It doesn't matter how I feel. What matters is what I want out of my life. It doesn't matter how I feel. It matters what I want from my life. Let me ask you something. What do you want from your life now that you don't have?
To get off that roller coaster, to be stability, and growing exponentially every year,
Okay,
versus
you had
the up
the
and down.
money grew exponentially. What would you get out of that? Who benefits if you do it?
My family.
Okay. Do you care about your family?
Absolutely.
Would you do anything for your family?
Yeah, I take a bullet for them. So why wouldn't I pick up the phone call for
The
them?
funny thing is that everybody says they would do anything for their family. I'll take a bullet, but some of you would rather take a bullet than prospect for 6 hours a day. I mean, because that's funny. Literally, you would take a bullet. I would run in through a car, like I would run in front of an alligator or a bear, but I
From a
won't
burning
make 4
building.
hours of calls for my family.
Absolutely.
Why is that? Why would you? I believe you. I know you. I know that you would jump in front of a car and a bullet, but why do you think you can't get yourself to prospect for 4 or 5 hours a day consistently? Honestly,
Ego.
because everything means everything, correct?
Yes.
So you have to understand, if you say I'm willing to do everything, which is one of the things I ask anybody that I coach, what does anything mean? Because for me, everything means anything. That's the number one thing that stops a lot of you is you get disappointed. I want you to write this down. Disappointment either drives me or disappointment destroys me. You have to understand, disappointment either drives you or disappoints you. When you make 3-4 hours of calls a day and you don't get the result you want, what do most people do? They quit.
They quit.
Because it's easy. And then they just say, it's just me. And I'm here to tell you, it's not you. I'm here to tell you that if you don't have the business you want, the first thing you have to do is you got to get on and make volume of calls. Again, Mojo is probably the easiest way because you can do 3 lines at a time. Vulcan and some of the other ones that do 1 line. If you're dialing 1 line and I'm dialing 3, who's going to get a hold of more people? And there's the problem. You talk to 20 and I talk to 100, I'm going to win that battle every time. But understand is that if you talk to a volume of people, you're going to find out really fast how good you are. How good are you at actually turning a conversation into asking quality questions like I did with that guy? Because every seller is going to tell you no. Every seller is going to say, I'm going to wait. That's just what they do. Our job as salespeople is to ask the right questions to uncover if that person still has a need or a want. Remember, when the Titanic went over and there's all these people in the water, do you try to go help people that are floating in water waiting to die? Or do you go find the people with their hands up that want help?
The ones that want to help first.
And that's what I always focused on. When I'm talking to 100 people, I know statistically there's going to be probably 1 to 2 people that will do something right away. There's probably another 4 or 5 that will do something in the next 3 to 6 months, and maybe 1 or 2 that may do something in the next 6. Outside of that, everyone is garbage. But I have to sift through all that stuff because as a real estate agent, I want you to write this down. We have 3 choices. Number 1, we can hold open houses and wait for business to come to us. That is an option. You can do open houses and wait for business to come to you. Number 2 is you could put lots of ads out or go work for Zillow. I think Zillow right now is taking 50% in a lot of markets. So you can take 50% to Zillow and you can go work for Zillow. Or number 3, you can go out and find it. I can tell you that going out and finding it is the fastest, most productive, and can help you get the most money the fastest. Because you can't predict how many people are going to walk into an open house and are going to walk in without an agent and use you. If you put an ad out, hell, Zillow was what, $1,200 a lead? You can do pay per click. And the thing is, if you're doing pay per click, which I'm not saying is bad, but how do you think your skills need to be when they're clicking you and then they're clicking my team? Understand, if you're going to pay for leads, it doesn't matter how many leads you get. The question is, do you actually have the skills to do that? So let me ask you, what are you willing to do? And what do you think you need to do to get from level 2 to 3?
I need to recommit to doing the hours. Literally.
Who are you recommitting to? You committing to everyone on this call? You're recommitting to your family.
My family and to Evan. I'm gonna start texting Evan. My mojo for the day. So he keeps me accountable.
I think the thing is that for a lot of you, you need accountability. You have to realize something. Who is going to run faster? If I told you right now to run, and then I said, I bet you $10,000 you could run faster, and you said you didn't think so, and I put a rock waller behind you, and I say, go, and after 1 minute, 1 second, I let the rock waller, which one are you going to run faster with? By yourself or a dog chasing you?
With the dog chasing you.
See, for a lot of you, you don't do anything because there's nothing chasing you. See, a lot of you have to let go of the ego and say, you know what, maybe this time that at some point in my life, I actually find something or someone that actually can help me. Because I'll be honest with you, reading scripts isn't going to help you. Making calls and not having better scripts isn't going to help you. You all have to learn that if you know what to say, going out and actually executing it, it's easy. Our business is probably one of the easiest businesses to learn. Let me ask you something. Have you heard any objection in the last 2 weeks that you haven't heard before?
No, it's been pretty much the same for the last year.
The objections for the most part are the same. I'm gonna wait, I gotta talk to my wife.
It's not the right time.
I got a friend in the business, call me back later. I mean, it's the same shit. The question is, when are you gonna learn the answers? So I appreciate that. I want one more person to tell me what level they're at.
Thank you, coach.
Raise your hand. Give me one more. All right. I guess we can go, I'll be a shark and I can just find somebody here. Look at all these people with their cameras turned off. Let me turn on your camera so I can see you. All right, then we'll just do it the fun way. Let's see here. There we go. My friend Dean, how are you?
What's up, brother?
How are you?
Doing all right. Feeling a little under the weather, but I'm okay now.
Got you. So when you look at the skill of obviously the first step where you just make volume of calls, step 2, obviously you just know how to generate leads. Number 3, you have listing appointments, but you can't get them. 4, you actually learn to take listings. 5, you actually can sell them. And 6, you can sell them and you can still prospect. Where do you think you are in your business, or what level do you think you could go to help yourself, if you're being honest?
Yeah, I took a look at that list and it would be number 6. I find that I get caught up. I mean, right now I have 15 active, and I just get into that point of just no return where it's like, you got to keep that cycle going on top of team stuff, on top of other stuff. And that's why when I messaged you today about it, I was like, it's like getting back into that like vicious grind, which I loved. You and I vibe on that, but it's something that just keeping that cycle going has been harder and harder as more and more responsibility has been coming up.
Of course. And the thing is also a lot of people don't realize that, if you have 15 listings, you have to understand 20% of those are probably going to fall out. And then you focus on the ones that actually close. And then all of a sudden you go from 15 at the end of May, they all close. And now you have 3 in June. And now you're like, what do I do? Because now if you only have 3 in June and you just close 10, you know how that feels to go from 10 listings closed and now you only have 3 pending?
Yeah.
And you go right back into the grind, and that's the thing. There's the ups and downs. That's why you see people. It doesn't matter how good you are. See, that's where a lot of people, the ego gets in. They understand they're good, but if you don't master 8 to 12, which is what we're going to talk about, which is the time that everybody, every single day, it should be sacred. That is a holy time where basically that is what actually helps you survive in real estate. 8 to 12. I want you to write that down. 8 to 12 is what actually keeps you alive in real estate. 2 to 6 is what actually makes you thrive. Let me ask you, how often are you able to put a good morning session in, and with what you have still find time to do it in the afternoon?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, ask me the question one more time.
I said, how often are you able to go from 8 to 12 in the morning and then obviously go to the afternoon and get an afternoon shift in? Because again, 8 to 12 is what keeps you alive and keeps your business going. That is your fuel. But if you want to actually supercharge your business, you got to get back on between 2 to 6.
Yeah, I usually get back on. If I don't have appointments, I'm between 3 and 5 is when I do it. But adding those extra hours in this whole concept of what you're talking about today, which is the volume calling, I've gotten away from it. Just like a lot of us here. Like I'm not immune to it. They see me you guys see me on like other platforms, but it's just not it's just not the same. No, it affects all of us. Let's put it that way. So.
And the thing is, for a lot of agents, I always know Dean is a good agent, but for a lot of people that don't have the experience, when you go from doing 4, 5, 6, 7 listings in a month, and then you go to having 1 the next month, you freak out. Now, when you freak out, the logical thing to do would just be to get back on the phone and do it again. But most people think more about having 1, and then they don't do the thing that actually got them the business. And then you see them go right back when now they have no deals. Now they're back into desperate volume calling. There's nothing worse in real estate than making a lot of calls when you need a lot of money. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people struggle with is the ability to maintain a productive schedule that actually allows it to do it. Let me get one more person here.
Mike, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
So on that point, I might struggle with acceptance then. Accepting the fact that this is the reality of the business sometimes. How
Okay.
do you remind yourself about that this is the grind that we have to live in if we want something bad enough?
Yeah. I
What
think
what what do you keep telling what should we keep telling ourselves? I like the line you used before, but if you can go elaborate on that, that'll be
I
awesome.
mean, for me, when you talk about it is, let me ask you something. If you don't put gas in your car, what happens?
Yeah, you can't drive, obviously.
It's the same thing with your business. That's the one thing that I've always equated my business to is that 8 to 12 grind. I have to accept the fact that without that, I cannot build a big sustainable business. I can't. If you want to sell a minimal amount of houses as an experienced agent, you can do that. But if you're someone that wants to make $1 million a year, like you have to accept the fact that regardless if you're cold calling, calling expired listings, or calling your database, you are going to have to talk to a volume of people. You know, if I'm sitting here coaching you one-on-one, the first thing that I would do is I would probably have you focusing strictly on your database and then having you follow up with leads from your team. Because your best asset is not to sit there and probably cold call people because like it's a wasted skill. You would probably have an ISA that would get you people that you could then follow up because the at your skill level, the best thing that you could do to double your business is to literally spend time just following up on leads and then calling your database. If you did that, I promise you, you would probably double your business because I know you. The thing is when you look at your database, how often are you honestly going back and calling anybody that ever gave you a referral and talking to them every 30 days or sending them a text? How many people?
Every 90 days, but not 30 days.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You know, Mike Ferry had always said, call everybody every 90 days. The problem is why do you treat people that give you no referrals the same as people that give you referrals? You know, it's just like if you're an A client, if it's your birthday, you should give them a call at 8 o'clock in the morning. Wish them a happy birthday. See what they're doing. Ask them if they're going to be home. If they're local, go get a cake, a card, and a gift card and drop it off at their house. Do you know how powerful it is to drop off a cake at somebody's house face to face? Like that absolutely is going to make them do it. Because think about it, if you want to sell 100 houses, all you need is 24 people to give you 4 referrals. And you can't tell me that if someone gives you 1 referral and you don't reward them, that they probably wouldn't do it again. You know, I had a coaching client that literally he was having trouble getting business. So I had said, look, when you're out in space, go and ask people if exchange numbers. So I took him to Ruth Chris. We literally were at Ruth Chris. I saw a guy come over. I said, watch this. I said, hey, what's your name? He said, Larry. I said, do you come here? He's like, every once in a while. He asked me, do I come here? I was like, only when my wife's out of town. I said, what do you do for a living? He told me that he owns some tech company out in Tyson's Corner. He asked me what I do. Hey, you know, I sell real estate for a living. I'm a company. I was talking. I said, look, let me ask you something. If you were ever going to, you know, buy or sell a house, do you have someone that you would use or refer to? He says, no, I've been here for 14 years. I'm like, wow, well, that's great. I said, look, if you ever need a handyman, plumber, electrician, I've got vendors that will do it at a discount. I'd love to pass that on. Why don't we swap cards? He swapped cards with me before he left. I got his card the next day. I sent him crumble cookies to his office. 4 days later, he called me and told me that one of the people that he worked for him had a house to sell. Great. Got a referral, called him up. I thanked him. We were kind of shooting the shit. I asked him, what do you do in your spare time? Because obviously this guy's a CEO. He told me that he liked to golf. I said, have you ever been to Congressional? He said he liked, but he had never played. So I knew somebody and I said, look, if I know someone, I'm going to put a good word in. Now, it cost me $3,000 to pay for 2 tickets to Congressional for this guy. But I got these tickets. I sent it out to him. I had it dropped off at his office by my father. The next day, he called me back. How'd you get these tickets? And I'm like, well, I told you if I ran into someone, I'd put a good word in. And so I did. He actually went out and golfed, found someone while he was there, got me up. That guy's giving me 3 referrals. I don't think you all understand the power of adding value to other people's lives. You can't just call people every 90 days. If someone gives you a referral for the rest of your life, you want to call them 1 month and the next month you want to text them. I got a referral for my birthday. I was on the beach and I was just texting the people because that's the time I get to text them. Where are you at? Oh, taking a picture with me and my wife. I got a listing appointment the day I got back from someone who's had a daughter that was looking to sell the house. That's what I mean. I don't think y'all understand, like sending texts and calling people is one of the most empowering things you can do for your database. Just like bees. Anybody that you think is gonna give you a referral in the next year, you should call every 60 days. On their birthday, you would call them up, wish them a happy birthday, but you don't get a house visit being a bee. You would have a crumble cookie or something dropped off. I want you to start to understand, if you start taking care of people that take care of you, don't you think they would give you more referrals? See, I didn't learn this till the back end of my career, you know. I for the first 4 years of my career, I literally took every file at the end of the year and I threw it into a fire and I burned it. It was a ceremony that I was gonna go find new business. But you have to understand, why would we call people we don't know if we don't talk to the people that we do know? So I think it's so important that a lot of you understand that. So thank you. Let me get one more person here. Oops. Hello, hello. There he is. How are you? Hello,
Hello.
how are you? What's your
Good,
name?
good. Maurice.
Maurice.
Yes.
Okay, listen here, remove pin. All right. Maurice, let me see if I can find you here. How long have you been in the business, Maurice?
This month is 36 years.
Gotcha, 36 years.
Yep.
Done it, so what has kept you in the business for 36 years?
When the kids were young, motivation, picking up diapers at 1, 2 in the morning, milk, formula. As they got into teenagers, all 3 of them have university degree.
What
Now,
level are you at?
pardon me?
What level are you at?
I'm between 5 and 6, and I'm up and down with the prospecting. It's like the motivation was there in the earlier years, but it's sort of tapered off now. But I know what I'm capable of, but it's just getting back to it on a consistent basis.
So what do you think keeps you between 5? Is it the fact that you don't focus enough on the prospecting?
100%.
Okay, so I'm assuming your business goes up and goes down like that, correct?
It has, yes.
Okay, so what are we gonna do to fix that?
I've put in a few accountability partners across Canada, which where I'm from, and starting prospecting at 9 a.m., you know, picking up the phone, calling them, you know, ready to start, and getting off at 12, giving them a call, letting them know how many contacts, lunch between 12 and 1, and if I've got nothing else to do, back on it between, say, 1:30 and 4.
Gotcha. How many contacts do you average a day?
I average about 12 per hour,
Okay,
So about
so,
30 to 40 in that range per day.
and what do you think would happen if you doubled that amount?
The business would double.
How would that feel?
Wonderful.
The challenge is at some point when you have enough pendings, how do you actually stay on and keep your schedule? Because you have to realize something, having accountability partners is not enough for you when you have tons of properties under contract to go back and still prospect. There has to be something that's driving you. At this stage of real estate, what drives you?
It's a tough, that's $1 million question. What drives me? The kids are growing up. It's a tough question. Like, it changes. You know, I guess right now I'm not old, but I still could build a better financial security in the end. I started the business when I was in my early 20s, and I'm in my late 50s now.
And where's the majority of your business come from?
Past client COI, that's the bulk.
And that's good. The thing is that if you're just calling your past clients and centers of influence, you can only grow your business, but so much, you know?
Yes.
That's one of the challenges a lot of people see is you get to a 5 or 6, but you're a 5 or 6 based on only calling one source. You know, I have some people that say, oh, I'm a 5 or 6, but they're getting all of their business from Zillow. The problem is that it's not a scalable business. You know, if you only, how big is your database?
I've got about 800.
Okay. And how many times do you call those people in that database? When I say a database, are those people that know you, like you, and trust you, or just people?
People that have done business in the past and people that have referred people to me in the past.
Mhm.
How often do I call them? Maybe twice a year. I know I should be calling them 4 times a year. I know I should be sending them mail every quarter. It's not like I don't know what to do at this stage of the game. It's having that daily discipline to do what I already know.
See, and I'm speaking to him, but I'm actually speaking to all of you through it. You know, if you have 800 people in your database, I would probably bet you $1,000, and I think I would probably win, that if you went back and looked up every single one of the people that are in there, I bet you 20% of the people don't even live at that address anymore.
You're 100% right, because a lot of times I call, they've moved.
Correct. And that's the problem, is that, the first thing, if you all want to double or triple your business, is you have to understand, A, what level you're at. The second thing, you have to start creating a plan of like, how do I fix it? You see, if you have a big database, the first thing that I would do is I would literally take the next week or two and have someone look up every single person in that address and see if they still live there. You see, I had the unpleasant thing a couple of years ago of doing this. It was during COVID. And I had looked at my database because, I've sold over like 2,700 houses in my career. And as I looked through that, do you know that 181 people had listed their house in my database that I didn't call and sold? And probably half of those people would have actually bought a house, which means I probably would have made like $5 million if all I did was just call that. But you see, for me, I wasn't focusing on that. I had a big database, but see, that's what a database is. It's a place that you store data. You don't want a database. A database is something that people don't use. If you're gonna have a database, make it so that it's real. Find out who is actually in that database that you still have. Now, if you want to, you can go back and talk to the people that bought with someone else and see, but I probably would start with the people that actually are in the database and still are at the address you're at, and then go back and talk to them. For me, the hardest part was actually calling people back that I hadn't called in 7 years. And be like, hi, it's your real estate Mike Putnam. Going through my database, I noticed I hadn't talked to you in 7 years. I just want to call and personally apologize. I know I said that I would keep in contact. I'm not sure what happened, but I just want to remind you that if you ever need anything, give me a call. I know I haven't been here for the last 7 years, but I just want to remind you that I'm going to call you every 90 days. If you need anything, let me know. Because anybody that's in that category, which is a C, anybody that's in your database that has not given you a referral, or you don't think they're going to give you a referral the next year, they're a C. Those are the people that you call every
organized team.
and I had to call those people at least 4 to 5 times before I was actually able to get traction with a lot of them. That's the problem. You have to realize, if you have not engaged your database and you start calling them, they're not just going to pick up the phone, some of them, and jump right back into the relationship. It literally took almost 1.5 years, 2 years before I finally started getting people that I left messages for, but they would say, hey, I know you didn't call me in 7 years, but I've heard your messages, so I guess I owe you an apology. And, I started being able to get that. My whole business transformed that, in terms of the days where I would make 100 contacts a day, to understanding that, if I have a big database, it's insane for me to cold call when I actually have people in my database. But you also have to understand, if you're going to go to your database, you have to do it right. Anybody that's ever given you a referral, you need to go back and talk to them right away. Because remember, if you get 10 people that give you 3 deals, that's 30 deals. What's your average commission check?
I'd say about 15,000.
What's 15 times, that's 450 grand. Think about that.
Yeah.
For 10 people. You can't say you can't find 10 people that will give you a referral.
Of course I can.
And if you do the right things for people, you don't think that if you made them feel special, that they wouldn't do something reciprocal for you?
Of course they would.
When I get a referral now, the first thing I do is I'll go if they're local and I'll just stop by and give them like a gift card. Thanks so much for thinking of me. I know there's a lot of choices. The fact that you chose me, it means the more that you know. I'll give them $250, $500 in a gift card as a thank you. When you start rewarding good behavior, what do you think happens to that behavior?
It comes back.
For a lot of you, all you need is 10 people in your whole life that actually will give you 2 or 3 deals, and you would double or triple your business. But the problem is, if you don't start to do that now, it doesn't get any easier. It gets harder to call people. And that's the thing. If you don't talk to people, you can't say that you feel comfortable calling someone that you knew you were supposed to keep in contact with. So what are you going to commit to do? Because that's probably the first place that you should pick up, is going back and digging into that database and seeing who actually is left. Because 800 sounds good, but if it goes down to 350, you probably would sell more houses. Because 350 is much more manageable than 800. 800 you probably would never call.
Yeah, I gotta purchase database.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what's your goal for the rest of this year?
The goal for the rest of the year is 60 transactions.
And where are you at right now?
I'm about 25.
So you're right on track. Great. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with me. Thank you.
Yes.
I want y'all to understand something. The business itself is not hard. The thing that makes it hard is that we make it. So I want to close it down with actually coming up with a plan that all of you can do between now and the end of summer to double your business. It's not hard. The first thing I want you to write down is commit to my morning schedule. Write down commit to my morning schedule. And what I mean by commit to my morning schedule is that you're going to commit that at least from 8 to 12 o'clock between now and the end of August, that you're going to commit to getting up on time and getting on the phone at 8 o'clock. If you're going to call expires, understand that if you call any later than 8 o'clock, you're going to be the 50th, 60th, 70th person. Like the people that call the earliest 7:30, that's probably where you're going to have the best opportunity. When you're the 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th person at 9 or 10 o'clock, they're not going to hear you. It doesn't matter how good your skills are. So for a lot of you, I need you to commit that you're going to go back from 8 to 12, and you're going to commit to making that the time that no matter what happens, Monday through Friday, you're going to give yourself that gift. For the people that do that, I've never met anybody that took 8 to 12 and did that consistently and didn't dramatically increase their business. Now, between 12 and 2 o'clock, that is your admin time. That's when you're preparing for your listing appointments, you're setting up your showings, you're calling for your files, you're doing anything admin related, you're returning any calls, you're eating lunch, and if you still have time, I suppose you can work out. Understand that 12 to 2 is the absolute slowest time in real estate, which is why that is when you want to spend the majority of all your admin time. The second half of your shift is going to be 2 to 6, and for some of you, 2 to 7. For me, I've always done 2 to 7. 2 to 6 is me either going on appointments, or if I'm not on an appointment, I'll be at my office. That's when I'm making my phone calls. I'm calling all the leads that I have back. You have to realize something. If you do 8 to 12 and you do 2 to 6, do you have any idea what happens to your business? Because on the days you don't have appointments, you're literally going to get 6 to 7 to 8 hours a day of calls in. You're going to get a hold of more people, generate more leads. The biggest problem that you'll have is how do you do lead follow-up, which is the second point. I want you all to commit between the beginning of June to the end of August that you are going to call every lead that you're supposed to call 2 to 3 times a day. And I want you to call them from different phone numbers. 2 to 3 times a day from different phone numbers. I think one of the biggest problems that a lot of real estate agents have is they're calling their leads from the same phone number. If you call from the same phone number, they may want to list or buy a house, but in their mind, they're too busy to talk, so they don't take it. If you start calling them from different phone numbers, you know, in my area, I have a 571, I've got a 703, I've got a 202, and I've got a 540. I hit people from every single area code that I can, so they don't know that it's me, because that gives me more at bats. I can call the same person 3 times a day like I'm stalking them, and it doesn't actually feel like I'm stalking them. Because the biggest problem that a lot of you have with your leads is that if you're supposed to call someone today and you call them and they don't answer, you put a call back for a week from now. What I do is in my Mojo, I put that lead into daily follow-up, and then I call that daily follow-up list every single day 2 to 3 times. Because remember, if you're calling once a week and I'm calling 3 times a day, that means I have 21 times chance better of getting a hold of that person than you. Think about that. You're calling them once a week and I'm calling them 21 times a week. Who's going to get a hold of more people? Third thing that I want you to commit to is I want you all to commit to segmenting your database and actually segmenting it the right way. And what I mean by that is that I want you to go through your database, and anybody that has ever given you a referral in your entire career, I want you to put a note and I want you to call that person every 30 days. I want you to call them every 30 days, and then the following month, I want you to alternate with texting that person. Now, obviously, if the person is older and they don't text, then obviously you would call them every 30 days. You have to realize if you talk to your A's every 30 days, whether it's a phone call or text, I promise you, you will get people that give you one referral to give you 3 or 4. It's not hard. What's hard is that you don't actually call the people that actually give you referrals. B is anybody that you believe is going to give you a referral in the next year. Now, those people are probably anybody that is a current client that you had a good experience with, because if you sold somebody a house a year ago and they haven't give you a referral, they're not a B. A B is somebody that you believe in the next year is actually going to give you a referral. You're going to call them every 60 days. C is everybody else that's in your database. You're going to segment the rest of those people as C's. You're going to call them every 90 days. And then anybody that has moved out of your state, out of your market area, you would want to put them as a D. And you would call them every 180 days. Now, the easiest way to do that is either follow-up pulse is really good at being able to segment, or you can put it in a Mojo and you can do reoccurring calls or reminders every 30, 60, 90 days. So I would find whatever CRM and make sure you do that, because for a lot of you, the easiest way to take your business and double it between now and summer is to actually go back to the people and actually talk to the people that you've done business with in the past. Let me find somebody here real quick. Larry, how are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Doing good. How are
A lot
you?
of you are probably going to say, well, Mike, well, what the hell do I say to people? So I'm going to be, you're going to be one of my past clients. You're someone that, I talk with often. You're saying you're a B or a C, and I'm going to give you a call because I want you to see exactly what the call looks like. The first part of our call is going to be the catch up. I want you to write this down, the past client call. Step 1 is the catch up. That's where you are just literally catching up with that particular person. Step 2 in that call is you're going to see if there's anything that you can do to help that person out. That is where we're trying to see, what can I do to help you? What do you need? Step 3 is where we're going to give them a market update of what's happening in the market. Number 4 is we are going to ask them for a referral. And step 5 is we are going to wrap up the call. You want to do this with every single past client call that you have. Even though it's the same framework, every single call will feel a little different. Because I know one of the biggest problems that I had coming up is they would say, well, call my database. Okay, well, like, what the hell do you say to them? Especially for the people that you haven't talked to in a while. So let's say I haven't talked to you in 3 months. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Larry, it is Mike Putnam, your real estate agent. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mike. What's going on?
Oh, so good to talk to you. Do you have a few minutes?
I do.
Yeah, I was actually looking at my database. I noticed it had been 3 months since I last talked to you. How are the kids? How's the family?
Everything's going good. Little Jimmy is playing some soccer. We're loving the house that we got in. Thank you for helping us out back then, and everything's rolling. No
Gotcha. Y'all
complaints.
don't have any plans for the summer?
Yeah, we're gonna go over to Virginia and visit this guy's office. His name is Mike.
It sounds like a good guy. It sounds like fun. Any other plans?
That's pretty much it, man.
Well, let me
What
ask
about
you,
you?
what can I do to help you? Obviously, is there any kind of handyman, plumber, electrician? Is there anything that you're planning to do to their house? Or is there anything that I could do to help you?
Yeah, we're actually thinking about potentially doing an add-on about 300 square feet towards the back of the home. Do you know
Okay.
anyone?
I know a lot of people. What specifically are you looking to do with the add-on so I can make sure I find you the right person?
Yeah, we're gonna do a little, enclosed porch.
Oh, wow. Gotcha. Was that your idea or the wife's?
It's the wife's, so we got to get it done.
Happy wife and a happy life, right?
That's what I've been told.
Great. Well, as soon as I get off the call, I'm going to send an email over to you with their contact information, and then I'm actually going to call them. The guy's name is Doug. He actually owns the construction company. I'll have him reach out. He's done stuff to my house, and he probably would take care of you better than anyone that I know. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be great. I appreciate that.
Now, have you been following the market and kind of what's going on?
I have not.
Gotcha. Yeah. So right now, it's interesting is that, we've actually last year saw the rates go from 4 to 8, and now you've seen the rates come down to around the 6.5, 7, and we're expecting them to come down even more as the year progresses. And when that happens, you're going to see a lot more buyers come into the marketplace, which is obviously going to drive the prices up. So I'm curious, do you know of anyone right now that that may be looking to take advantage of what's going on in the market?
Yeah, now that I think about it, I might know one guy. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. What's his name?
His name is Jeremy.
Jeremy. Okay, gotcha. And do you have his phone number? Would it be okay if I called him directly?
Yeah, I got his phone number.
Okay, what is it?
It's 281
Okay,
979
979
4402.
4402. Great. And it's okay if I mention that you referred me?
Yeah, of course.
Gotcha. Well, I can't wait. I'm gonna have to drop off a surprise for you tomorrow for thinking of me. My team and I actually set a goal to sell another 50 houses in the next 2 months. So I appreciate you thinking about me. Is there anything else that I can do for you?
That's it, Mike. I appreciate you giving me a call.
Gotcha. Well, what I'm gonna do, are you gonna be home tomorrow afternoon?
I am.
Okay, gotcha. I'm gonna swing by about 6 o'clock. That little small present I want to drop off for you and the kids. Is your son gonna be home?
He is.
Gotcha. I got a little something for him as well. So I'll be by tomorrow at 6 o'clock again. If you need anything, let me know. I'm gonna send you that email now. I will call you tomorrow morning before I come out to make sure that Doug called you, and I look forward to actually getting a chance to see you in person.
I appreciate you, Mike. You're too cool.
I appreciate you.
Okay.
I have to realize something. It's not hard. Number one, you want to catch up with them, just shoot the shit. It doesn't matter. Just catch up. If it's been a while, hey Larry, it's your real estate agent, Mike Putnam. I'm actually calling to apologize.
Oh my goodness. Why? What's up?
I actually sold you a house 3 years ago, and I said I would keep in contact, and I literally was going in my database and I noticed that I didn't. Would you forgive me? Honestly, I'm sorry.
You know what, Mike? I give you my forgiveness.
I appreciate that. I mean, I literally said I was going to be there for you, and I haven't. So let me ask you, how have you and the family been since it's been literally 3 years since we talked?
We've been doing good, man. And my kids are now off. They're in high school now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want y'all to see something. Those are the kind of conversations that you all are going to have to have. Are they uncomfortable? Hell yeah, they're uncomfortable. When they don't answer and you have to leave a voicemail message and they don't return your call, is that going to hurt? Of course it does. But that's the way you re-engage your database. See, for a lot of you, it's time to take back your business. And the way you take it back is you decide that you're actually going to do something about it. Number one, you're going to make more calls. Number two, you're going to follow an actual schedule. You're going to segment your database. And then the last thing I want you all to write down as we wrap up is actually learning how to handle objections. Actually learning how to communicate with people. Now, I'm finishing up right now a book. It's called The Prospecting Playbook. Hopefully it'll be out in the next month. It literally has everything with objections. It has everything that you need as a real estate agent to succeed. The thing is that so many of you just know scripts and you don't know framework. And I think that's one of the things that I think for a lot of you, you need to find something or someone that's going to be able to take you from where you are to where you want to go. Because Larry, me and you have been working together for 6 months. What has it been like for you going from scripting where you were to where you are right now and the way that you're able to communicate with people?
I mean, it's night and day. It's funny because once you learn the framework, you can kind of start to see it everywhere.
What do you
And
notice
then,
now with the framework, now talking to clients as you're making those calls versus what you had before?
because no matter what they say to you, you pretty much know how to take it down and how to get what you need to get out of the conversation.
And Larry obviously had the pleasure last week as he was having problems with getting price reductions. So I said, what a better way to spend a coaching call than doing price reductions together. So Larry literally was just saying whatever I said to that guy. And I mean, this guy for like 15 minutes was just fighting him left and right. What did that feel like with that guy just trying to beat the shit out of you as I'm telling you over and over and over on that call what to say?
I honestly found it pretty entertaining because no matter the BS he gave me, I had something right back to go ahead and move the conversation forward.
Yeah, and this guy was like, no, I will not do it. Hey, I've sold houses myself. He actually was saying, I'm a for sale owner with other houses. I'll increase the price. And by the end of the call, what happened?
I got a price reduction.
Because I think a lot of you don't understand, it's like, you have to find a way to learn how to get past just reading a script. If all you are is a scripture, it's gonna be very difficult to actually get through to people, because again, people don't want to be talked at, people want to be talked to. And when you learn to ask questions, it allows you to be able to control people. What is it like now learning how to ask questions and how to control people versus where you were before?
I mean, it's just I didn't know this was a thing, and then I started doing it, and then I realized, oh my goodness, you can literally control an entire conversation if you just say things the right way in a certain framework, and obviously ask questions, you know,
And as
this
you
or
do it
this.
over and over and over, it just becomes a part of who you are. So now you really don't have to necessarily read a script, it's become who you are. And I think that's the most important thing. You all want to know the script's good enough that you actually become the script, because now when you're saying it through your personality, it's 100 times more powerful than just me saying it, because your personality is different than mine. That's the beautiful thing when you learn how to get framework from scripts, is that no matter what someone says, you always have a comeback. It's either this or it's that. And I think, in my book, literally every single chapter I break down, because, when you're looking at any objection handling, the first thing you need to do is you need to acknowledge it. Acknowledge what they said. You know what? I understand that. Number two is the I. You want to isolate. Is it this or it's that? And then the last part, you just simply want to redirect to whatever you want them to do. At a high level, that's what I really teach people to do, because when you acknowledge someone, you isolate it. Is it because you need more time in the property, or just not sure if now's the right time to sell? Well, we just don't think now's the right time to sell. Great. Now you can easily redirect that person and get what you want. So the last thing you really need to do is you really need to get something and someone so that you can actually learn how to actually handle objections, and not just handle objections, but actually learn how to communicate with people. Just like that past client call, every call, whether it's a cold call, whether it's an expired, whether it's a for sale by owner, a for rent by owner, those are all opportunities for you to be able to communicate with people, because at the end of the day, if you honestly don't learn how to handle objections, at the end of the day, you're going to be very difficult for a lot of you to be able to succeed. So do any of you have any questions before we head out? Any questions? Great. Well, I'm gonna have my assistant put in a chat. In July, I'm launching my group coaching. So for any of you that would be interested in potentially taking yourself to the next level, I'm gonna have my assistant put that into the chat. Would love to talk to you, would love the opportunity to work with you and show you, because for a lot of you, the only thing that you need to get you from where you are to where you want is just someone to actually show you the way. I when you get a chance to come to my office, hopefully a lot of you to prospecting school, and you get to see the people that work for me and get to see exactly what it looks like in person, it's going to give you a different perspective, because I think for a lot of you, when you know what to say, it's going to make it a lot easier to do. So Elena, if you would put that link in the chat. If any of you all need to get a hold of me, you can DM me on Instagram, or you can click that link. I look forward to having the opportunity to talk to you soon, and thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.